Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new edition of On the Mark TV and Radio from Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwood Community Television. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach, and in studio with me today is Brady LePage, who is a integral part of Westfield Community Programming. He worked on the crew that brought the Berkshire Theater Critics Awards to media. We all went to Pittsfield together to do that. He's a part of our staff here. He's a senior at Westfield Technical Academy, concentrating in internet technology. And he's been on the airwaves here before, and I'm really glad to have him this morning. Good to see you, Brady.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You know, Brady, one of the things we talk about, and you're sort of an expert in, is IT stuff. And you'll go on from here to college and major in it in some level or another. But we were talking about internet safety, and a lot of people either got upgraded phones or new phones or tablets or computers over the holidays, and something, if they're not careful, they're going to get scammed here as 2025 begins. What are some of the things you'd recommend to somebody if they got a tablet or a phone for the holidays? How do you keep it safe from scams?
Well, the first thing is really educating yourself, taking a step back on the accounts that you have. So if you were to get a new phone or something like that, when you install apps on there, if you have a Google account or an email, making sure that the password is secure and keeping track of what you're putting on the device. You're not downloading files or applications that you don't know what it's going to do to your device or what you're adding on there. And also keeping in mind if it's a computer or a device that you can download like an antivirus software, if it has a firewall, for example, like a Windows computer, you have Windows Defender firewall, which is on there, making sure that's enabled and you are keeping it updated, running updates on your device, because those include security patches. Those are some of the most basic things that from the get-go you should be doing.
What if you got a Mac? Is a Mac different?
A Mac is same thing. You can install security software on there, and they also make sure to keep it updated, because the updates are a big thing. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I don't want to update it because it's annoying. It restarts," or "Oh, I don't want to update it because it changes the way it looks." Well, on computers and phones and tablets, those updates a lot of times they include the security patches for vulnerabilities. And even if you update it, it looks like nothing's changed. In the background, a lot of those security backdoors have been patched, or bugs in programs and things like that have been worked on.
A question somebody asked me to ask you. They have they do their online banking on their laptop, but not their phone or their tablet, because their laptop is at home and they feel it's a more secure place than it is if you're, tapping into Wi-Fi somewhere else. Should you do banking online? Should you do bill pays online or Venmos and things? And if you do, are you safer doing it at home than you are sitting in your car somewhere?
So I'll kind of break that down to a couple of sub-questions almost. So first thing with the online banking itself is as safe as the software that your bank uses, right? So it's the same thing as doing, sending an email or something like that. So if you're using online, I have People's Bank, so I have the app on my phone and I can go on there, and that's perfectly secure to do. You have to make sure you have a good password for your account and nobody has access to your device, right? If somebody gets access to my phone and has my password, they can get into my online banking and they can, move money around or whatever. In terms of networks, right, home versus out in public, it's going to depend on the network that you connect to. At home, that's your network. It's a private network. So the risk of somebody being on that network is very, very low, like a bad actor. If you're somewhere, let's say at a coffee shop or at a shopping mall and you're using that open network, you're relying on the security of that network. You're relying on However, the administrator set up that network. So oftentimes devices on that network can see each other. So you and I could be at Starbucks, and I might not even know you, but I could see that your computer is on that network. And that's a possible security risk. So you do have to be careful. Best practice is to make sure that things are isolated, but in the IT world, unfortunately, not everybody follows the best practice. And also, you can come across places where potential bad actors have set up networks to fool people. So I could sit in the parking lot outside of a coffee shop and have a router broadcasting free Wi-Fi, and it's not coming from that coffee shop. It's just sitting there so that you connect to it thinking, oh, this is great, I've got internet. And now you're connecting straight to me, and I'm taking all your information, and I can see what's coming across. These online banking softwares and apps and providers, they do encrypt data, so it's not just clear text coming across the network. So people aren't just looking at every single thing that you're sending. Yeah. But there is still a risk. So you have to be careful. I always would recommend if you're going to do something, either do it on your home network, and anytime you're on a public network, if you have to use a public network, use a VPN client on your phone, which you can go online, you can download. I know Norton's got a VPN, and you can install on your phone or your computer, and it helps keep you segmented from what's happening on that open network or that public network.
So people get their new devices, and they're not quite sure how to use them. And it's always been said to me, ask a teenager or ask your kid, because your kid knows more than you do. So you're a teenager, and I'm sure people come up to you and they know that you do IT and that's your specialty, and they come up and all day long ask you questions about, how do I do this? How do I download that? What do I do? What are the biggest scams that people are being subjected to right now?
I think the top scam is somebody faking themselves as either a bank or a government agency and sending an email or sending a phone call, or the communication scams. The email scams I've seen a lot of lately. People get an email that says, we're from Bank of America or People's Bank or wherever a random bank is. And they say, you have had money withdrawn, we need your account information. And so their goal with that scam is just to get you to give them your account information that they don't have, and then now they've got access to your account because they've got all your information. And what they'll do is they'll get an email address. They might have support@peoplesbank.com, but they've added an extra L to People's Bank. So on the first go around, you might not notice that because they're trying to catch you in that time of panic, like, oh my God, $4,000 has been taken from my account. So you're quick to respond like, I've got to do something about this. And you're not stopping to look and say, the email address has an extra L, it's fake.
I got one of those a couple of weeks ago. We were talking before we went on the air, and People's Bank, it was a text. And I've never done any texting of any kind with People's Bank. And People's Bank was misspelled. And it said to go to this link, and somebody had, did I approve of a $800 transfer from my savings to my checking account? And I realized it was bogus right away. And then I went on my computer and checked to make sure that it was bogus, that there had been no transfers made. But it was so, if I hadn't looked at it carefully, I would have thought it was People's Bank.
Yeah, and you did the absolute best thing, and that's to stop, take a step back, and really check from a different angle and see what's going on with your account or what's going on with the status of whatever they're talking about. Most of the time it's an account, because if they're claiming that this amount of money's been taken out or this account's been frozen, if that actually has happened, there's no harm in calling the bank or even showing up in person. If I got a message saying there was $4,000 out of my account and I didn't have online banking and I was freaking out, I would just, if I could, drive right down the street to the bank and go sort it out there, because that's a far safer plan than just acting right in the moment. You could get scammed. You could lose money. And also take a step back and say, do I even have an account with these people? I've seen emails come in that say, we're Netflix and you owe us $1,000 in back payments on your account. These people don't even have Netflix.
Exactly.
But they get freaked out because it's this huge red text and email that says, you owe us money. And that's scary, especially for some of the populations that are less technically inclined. The scammers, unfortunately, they prey upon that. They see that people in that sense of urgency are willing to do whatever it takes. So really taking that step back is important.
There are a lot of scams that are out there, and somebody's asked me, if you turn your computer off when you're not using it, I mean, totally shut it down, are you safer than if you leave it on all day long while you're about your day?
Well, of course, if your computer's off and completely powered off, it's not negotiating on the network, so there's nothing that's coming to and from it. So from that perspective, yes, it is much safer. Sometimes it's important to have your computer on if it's like running automatic updates or something like that. But if you don't need your computer on and you want an easy way to secure it, yeah, certainly turning it off, it's going to be the most secure because nothing's going to be communicating with it.
And what about your phone? Do you turn your phone off at a certain time and then reboot it to make sure that it's okay, or do you leave your phone on 24/7?
Well, my phone ends up staying on 24/7 unless it ends up dying. For everybody, it's going to be different because you might be in a position where somebody needs to communicate with you. Or you might have to have it on in case somebody needs to call for work or whatever. It is good to reboot if you're having trouble with it. But a lot of the modern smartphones now will automatically update, or they'll give you a prompt that says you're in need of updates. Updates, like I was talking about before, are really the biggest thing that you end up needing to do on a mobile device or a tablet computer for security, because they fix the security issues that companies are aware of. And it doesn't fix everything, because it only fixes the issues that companies are aware of. But the issues that companies are aware of are the ones that a lot of people are taking advantage of because they've been publicized. So that's really the biggest thing is running updates. You don't necessarily have to turn it off or reboot all the time unless you're having issues and you want to do a troubleshooting step of rebooting.
Another thing, if you have Facebook or Instagram or Blue Sky or TikTok or any of the social media channels, I know that on Facebook you get friend requests from people that are always your friends. So somehow their information has gotten into the hands of someone else. How do you protect yourself on social media?
That's an interesting one, because a couple weeks ago I actually just had an instance of that where somebody on social media, it wasn't actually them, it was a fake account, had requested to follow me and then asked if I could give them a verification code for an account. And I kind of knew this, but I knew of this person, but I wasn't super close with them. So it was one of those scenarios I was like, well, I don't know what's going on with this. And I reached out to that person on the other account because they had an account that I was following. This was on Instagram. And then there was a second account that requested to follow me. And that was the one that was messaging me. I said, is this you? And they said, no, that's not me. That's a fake account. And so I blocked that account, out of security. So if somebody requests to follow you, if you have another way of communicating with them, whether it's you already follow them on another account, some people have multiple accounts if it's like a business account or something like that, or if you have their phone number, an email, or you just see them, then make sure it's really them.
Yeah,
or take a look at the account and make sure it's really them.
One of the things I note on Facebook is I get friend requests from people I'm already friends with. Then I know it's fake. But on Instagram, or even on Facebook, my personal page is not public. It's only for my friends. I do have a business page, which is public. And I get comments when I post publicly on something from somebody that would like to be friends. And I know I check their profile first. If it's a private profile, I don't do it. And if I don't know them, I don't do it. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of friend requests out there on Facebook and Instagram that are totally fake people, and you shouldn't like everybody that wants to be your friend, because you can open up a can of worms clicking on something that you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And people that request to be your friend that aren't, some of them aren't even real people behind the account. So some of them could be scammers, right? They could be people trying to trick you, but some of them are just computer programs, or we call them bots. And they're just to create spam. Or some people, if you're looking at someone else's post, will get bots just to drive up the comments or drive up the likes or just the engagement, because then it makes their page more popular or whatever.
I mean,
which I always thought was interesting.
Yeah, I'm astounded, because I manage the Facebook pages of a couple of clients of mine. Plus, I have a personal page, and then I have my own page for my public side. And I'll get these comments after a post to say, I'd really like to get you to know you better. I've sent you a friend request, but you haven't responded, kind of thing. And I know immediately it's a bot.
A bot, yeah. And that's, our scammers will use the bots like that. They'll send it out and they'll say, well, whoever responds, that's who we're going after.
What does bot actually mean?
Bot, well, they just have used the term bot, kind of like a robot. It's not really a human.
Robotic, okay.
Robotic, yeah. It's just it's a coding script, really, that runs, and it just is an account that sends out comments. It looks for accounts and sends a message to look like a real person that's saying, hey, let's chat, let's reach out. And then once you actually message the bots, 9 times out of 10, it is a scammer on the other end that says, okay, well, we caught one. It's like throwing out a bunch of fishing poles and saying, who's going to bite?
Who's going to bite?
And reeling in the ones that bite.
So people should never give out any kind of personal information online.
No, on social media, never give away any type of passwords. If somebody asks you for a verification code, don't give them a verification code, because what people will do is they'll go and try and log into your account. They'll say, oh, I forgot the password. It'll say, we'll send you a verification code. And then you as the user would get a verification code, right? And they'll take that code that you give them and they'll reset your password and lock you out. So don't give away any verification codes, links, password resets, even things like a phone number. If you know somebody personally and they need your phone number and they find you on social media, then you have to make sure it's them. And most of the time, it would be somebody that you could see in person, or you might know through somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten a few requests for that. We've been trying to reach you. We'd like to text you something. And I know that people in general would not ask for that on social media, so
yeah.
I ignore it.
Yeah, and for you as someone that has a business account too, it becomes a tough battle between wanting to be secure, but also, say if I reached out and said, I need to contact you about, whatever, a show or something like that, and I needed a phone number, and I didn't know you, I was approaching you, that's tough, because you want to make sure I'm a legit person, but also you want to make sure that you're contacting customers and clients and things like that.
So I guess what we're saying here is use common sense.
Use common sense and really take a step back. Taking that step back to look at things from multiple angles, whether it's making sure that the email coming in from People's Bank really is People's Bank, making sure that the person contacting you is who they say they are, making sure you even have an account with somebody that's asking you for money, and looking at a profile of someone who wants your contact information, because you can look at a profile and tell if it is somebody. You can really kind of dig deep, right? If I went to message you on Instagram, you could look and see, well, who else is following Brady LePage? Or how long has this account been up? Because if there is an account that has thousands of followers, but it's only been up for a day, that is pretty suspicious. That's something that I would look at and say, wow, that might be a bot.
How many people come to you on an ongoing basis and say, is this cool or not?
A handful, family, some friends. We do work in the senior centers through SHOP here at school, so we'll have questions about that every now and again. People will ask about, is this safe, or how do I do this? How do I look at accounts and things like that?
Yeah, and you've done that. You've been over to the senior center. And didn't you do a program for them on here?
I haven't done a program here yet, but we have done some outreach over there and talking to the seniors. I think we're going to look at doing some more of that this year.
Well, your advice is really very good. We only have a minute left. How did you get interested in IT in the first place?
I've always been interested in the way things work in general, just the inner workings of everything. And computers, I've enjoyed computers. Ever since I was little, I just thought it was so fascinating, these machines that can do things. And I wanted to be a part of the magic, a part of the behind the scenes. It's just fun to see the work that I can do come to light. And I like tinkering around. I like playing around, like just the everything being new, everything being not futuristic, but like so technical. I don't know. It's just enjoyable to play around with technology, and the advancements, and also just seeing what it can do, and seeing all the applications. Because when I came into this school freshman year, I didn't even think about how technology could be applied somewhere like here in the studio, and now here I am doing all this work because it's so enjoyable to be a part of that magic. Like when I was at the Berkshire Theater Critic Awards, I was there doing the cameras and helping out with that. I enjoy being a part of a production like that and seeing the final product.
Well, we're really glad you're a part of us. I mean, you are just so great to work with, and I appreciate the fact that you would come and spend a half hour on one of my programs and just talk about internet safety.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hopefully I didn't make your head spin too much.
No, you didn't. And I'm going to ask you before we go to break here if you'll come back and do this again.
Oh, of course.
Terrific.
Anytime. We've
been chatting with Brady LePage, who is a senior at Westfield Technical Academy, concentrating in IT. He's a part of our production staff here at Westfield Community Programming, and we're really glad to have him here. We're going to take a break. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll return with On the Mark after these messages.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you haven't been to Westfield lately, you ought to know that it's an art destination. There are things happening at Westfield on weekends and Artworks Westfield. It is a music destination. You have the Springfield Chamber Players on site at the Athenaeum 3 times a year, summer concerts downtown. And finally, Westfield is a dining destination. There is a whole variety of restaurants, some old, some new, some reinvented. And the big one right now is the Tribeca Grill, which has kind of galvanized downtown Westfield and is starting to bring in people from my neighborhood in Long Meadow seem to know about the Tribeca Grill. And Tony Long from Tribeca is here with us today. It's a unique restaurant. It's definitely different from Westfield. What made you choose to open this kind of a restaurant in Westfield?
Market research, Mark. It was that simple. We did our due diligence and looked at all the surrounding communities. It's myself and I have 2 partners, but we're all local guys from Western Mass. I actually lived in Westfield for a short time as a teenager. My other partner owned a home in Westfield. And what we looked at were, demographics, age, income, excess or your disposable income. Then you look at your market. You look at cost to do business, rent, licenses. You look at infrastructure. You look at void in market. And when we put all those factors together, it then took a look at the potential in the future of what Westfield's been working on for the past decade and where it's going. Hands down, Westfield was the right choice for us. We knew that 3 years ago, and what we believed was going to happen 3 years ago, what we hoped was going to happen 3 years ago in Westfield, is happening right now. And it's just great to play a small part of it.
And you opened to rave reviews, and people are lining up to go. I guess it's a hot ticket on weekends, but you just told me it's a little easier to get into during the week.
There is this perception, and we do love it, that we're always packed. Certainly on the weekends, you definitely need a reservation. But to walk in the doors tonight, you would get a table. And
you now serve lunches.
We did open for lunch Tuesday through Saturday now, 11:30 to 3. Entirely different menu, much more handheld and lunch friendly than our dinner menu is.
For people that don't know, and you got to throw out the website and social media while we're chatting, how do you define Tribeca Grill?
So Tribeca is a gastro bar and grill, and gastro is the key word. The simplest definition to a gastro bar: gourmet comfort food, craft cocktails. We've taken that basic concept and elevated it. All our food presentation is tapas style, so it's all shareable plates. The menu options, our chef was given a directive. We want something you can't get at another restaurant. We want to be different. We're fortunate enough that there is such a diverse, like you said, options of dining in Westfield, and specifically downtown Westfield. We just wanted to add another one, and we believed that it would bring in people from outside of Westfield as well.
The menu has evolved a little bit since you've opened. I mean, I check it online or on Facebook a lot when I'm coming out to town, and you're adding new things and subtracting other things. And some of it's seasonal. Are you getting stuff from the local farms and creating a menu based on what's available at the time?
So our executive chef, Patrice Mercer, who is just phenomenal, I guess is the only word I could put it under. That is entirely his wheelhouse. He is changing the menu seasonally based upon flavors of the season. And even some of the plates that we're on in the summertime will stay on in the wintertime, but they'll be served or presented a little differently, a different jam or something. Everything that we do primarily is all house-made, whether it's our sauces, our jams, our bacon jam, which I think we should bottle. It's so good. And we do try to source as local as possible when obviously feasibly, fiscally responsible.
So since the restaurant opened, what is your favorite go-to dish when you show up?
So I'm a big fan, and I'm kind of boring. I get it every night for dinner. I get our bacon wrap mini meatloafs and our sticky pork belly burnt ends. The mini meatloafs are the quintessential gourmet comfort food. And it was one of the first conversations I had with Chef. I'll never go out and order a meatloaf. But if we're going to be a gastro bar, we have to have a meatloaf that's just out of this world. And he nailed it. First of all, he wrapped it in bacon, so how can you go wrong?
You can't go wrong. If it's got bacon, it's good.
So those are my two favorite. But our scallops, scallops are the big one. Now I'm just drawing a blank. You stuck me.
I don't know. I
Crab
looked at
cakes.
those charcuterie plates. I went,
Charcuterie boards.
It's a trend right now in other places, but yours is just 10 times better than anything I've seen.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And that's what we were striving for. It's funny you say that. If you read today's Facebook post, and you can see us on Instagram, Facebook, and TribecaWestfield.com on the internet, it starts off with exceed guest expectations. And that was the foundation of our mission statement. It's what we set out to do every day when we unlock the doors and invite the public in to be our guests. In this post-COVID era, you have an elevated consumer who wants something more than just to go out after dinner. And what we're trying to provide is an immersive atmosphere and a elevated, sophisticated cocktail program. Again, all our juices are house squeezed, and dehydrated garnishes, and the bottoms up beer draft system, the most innovative draft system in the world. And then, of course, the food program. And it's all designed to give you something that you don't get every night of the week. And maybe it's not for everybody every night of the week. But even if you're doing that, one time out a year for the birthday or the anniversary, we're that kind of place. But we're also the kind of place you can go to after work and sit at our 40-foot-long, 3-inch thick Brazilian cherry bar top made by Mill River Slab Works here in town, and just get to know the people sitting next to you. It's a very social environment.
Do you think of Tribeca as a destination restaurant, or as a restaurant you can go grab a snack and a dinner before you go to an exhibit or a concert?
Without trying to say we're everything to everybody, because you can't do that in this industry. We're a unique destination, but we also have our regulars that come in 3-4 nights a week just to have a cocktail after work, or they'll have dinner 2 nights a week. We're hoping that we're another attraction to this newly designated cultural district, downtown Westfield, to give people just another reason to come over. And whether you stop by for a drink before the Friday night downtown concert series, or you go to a show and come over for a tapa afterwards, or you go to the Maple Leaf on a Friday night and you see our sign and go, hey, maybe we'll go there Sunday. We want to be a draw. There's no way Tribeca doesn't survive without all the other things going on in Westfield, and all of our success is gonna benefit us all.
Now, earlier you said that you guys, it was a lot of market research that brought you to Westfield. Did you have an idea of what the restaurant would be when you were doing the market research, or did that develop? Because it's unique, not only to Westfield, but to a lot of the other communities around. There's nothing like it.
So this concept has dangled in my mind for several years, probably 6 or 7 years. I've been thinking of this, not to this scale. Did I ever envision opening a restaurant like this? I thought it would be much smaller. I got fortunate when I found my partner who came in, and we built something that I think in the beginning, I don't think either one of us could have envisioned that we could have gotten to where we've gotten. But we're really happy with what we built and the building that we chose.
Yeah, the building is wonderful.
And that was dumb luck for us, to be honest with you. We actually negotiated for months with the building right next door to us, the former Clemenza's building, and we just couldn't come to terms with the out-of-state landlord. And we just kind of started looking around again, and I just walked next door and saw Lampson Square building being renovated, and we had no idea the history, the connection that building, the importance that building has to this cultural district. And it's 167 years old, and now because of the efforts and work, not just by us, but by the property owners, Lampson Square, their efforts, this building will be around for another 167 years.
Were you in the restaurant business before you started Tribeca?
So I have about a couple decades worth of nightclub and some restaurant, but primarily nightclubs from Miami to Springfield. And of the partners, I'm the operating guy. I'm the one that's there every day. This is what, the industry is what I love to do. But I certainly have not been involved in something this.
How did you get into the business in the first place?
Gosh, that's a long story, but I'll try to slim it down here. My father owns an insurance company. I followed in his footsteps. I was on the phone with a customer one day, and he said to me, Tony, if this insurance thing with your dad never works out, you should think about going into radio. You got a great voice.
You do.
Well, thank you. And I literally, the next week, I picked up the phone. I called my local radio station. I spoke to the program director, and I said, I want a radio show. And the guy interviewed me on air. And I ended up with a radio show. That radio show morphed into a brief concert promotion, which then brought me into nightclubs, and that's where I spent a couple decades.
And how did the restaurant part of it come in?
Well, that was a change from post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I would have stayed in the nightclub industry, specifically what I was doing. I just enjoyed, but things changed in my life as well. my wife passed away, so things were just different for me. And then the industry changed, and nightclubs just weren't, I don't think, where my heart was anymore. But the industry is where I belong.
And it's all part of the hospitality industry.
Yes.
And so you having this experience with clubs and media and everything, coming in to do a restaurant gastro like this, you had a background kind of peripheral to it, but you were able to open a space in Westfield, understanding what Westfield was all about from that marketing background. So where do you think your audience is coming from at this point?
So we are primarily locals, but we do draw a lot from surrounding communities that you might not typically consider people that would drive to Westfield, whether it's Longmeadow, Suffield, Wilbraham, Northampton, a lot from the hill towns. Because we are such a different concept, not just to Westfield, but to Western Mass, and it seems like we're delivering. People will travel to be entertained and fed properly.
That's true. I mean, it's the menu is something. There are, I guess you call them foodies, all over the place. And it used to be that Northampton was the place to go for food, and then it kind of switched off to East Hampton, and nobody would have thought that Westfield would be on the scene as a restaurant town. But between Tribeca and Tobacco at the airport, which is outstanding, and some of the other restaurants in Westfield, people can really come out here 7 nights a week and have a different cuisine or a different dining experience.
Completely. And it's and you can park in one location in Westfield with free parking, a safe community, and you can walk to a dozen different options of restaurants. Traditional American, Italian, Asian. There's so much to do in downtown Westfield, which is why it's our little slogan for the year, catch the vibe of 25, the year of Westfield. We really believe that to be true. Everything that the work of people like Artworks and Westfield on Weekends and the city administration and the Chamber of Commerce and the Small Business Association, all the work that those folks have been doing for the past decade have brought Westfield to this brink of what we truly believe is going to be a spectacular year.
What do you think, because you and like Bill Westerland and these other people, you're all advocates, regardless of what your business is, you're all advocates for bringing people to Westfield. What do you think is Westfield's strongest suit that people don't know about?
So I'll go back to the safety, the parking, and the options. You can come here and not worry about getting a parking ticket, which some communities that's not true when you're going out to dinner. You can come here and walk Elm Street at night and not feel uncomfortable. And in some surrounding communities, that's not true. You have the options of so many different varieties of food and entertainment. I think what's lacking is the public education of that. And my hope is with this new designation of cultural district, with the funding that'll come in from that people outside of Westfield are going to start seeing what Westfield is really about. And to be honest with you, I still think there's a lot of people in Westfield. I bet half the people that live in Westfield still don't know who we are.
True.
So shame on us for that. That's on us. But I think if we collaboratively work together, and I love working with Bill and with Bob at Westfield on Weekends and doing things together, we're going to educate more. And every time somebody comes to Westfield and has a great experience doing whatever it is that they choose, they're going to go home and tell their friends and bring those people back the next time.
We got to take a quick break to acknowledge our underwriters. But before we do, how can people learn more about Tribeca?
www.tribecawestfield.com. The best thing to do is make a reservation, come to 89 Elm Street, and give us a shot.
You want to throw the phone number out for people?
413-579-5055.
Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll return after these messages. Don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company. an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at betsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to watch it again or share it with friends, we've archived it on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. Tony Long from Tribeca Gastro restaurant in downtown Westfield is here this half hour to whet your appetite about a really great new dining experience. It's not just a place to go eat. It's really an atmosphere and an ambiance right in downtown Westfield, part of the Westfield Cultural District and a lot of the new things that are happening. So if you are listening and you're in Longmeadow or Springfield or the surrounding towns and you think of Westfield as just that former Exit 3 on the Mass Pike. There's a lot to do here. Everything from Stanley Park to Westfield on weekends to the Westfield Theater Group to Artworks Westfield. A lot of it happening in downtown Westfield. And you're going to want to eat or drink afterwards. There's a variety of restaurants. But Tribeca is the new kid on the block, and it brings a sensibility and a style and a menu that it's not been seen around here in a long time. And I have neighbors in Longmeadow that drive out to go to Tribeca for a meal because it's just so different.
I should hire you as my PR guy.
Yeah.
That was a good intro.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's part of the reason I'm enthused is because I work with a group of musicians, the Springfield Chamber Players, that perform a 3-concert season at the Athenaeum. Mm-hmm. And people will say, well, where do you go beforehand? Or what do you do afterwards? Those concerts are 75 minutes long on a Thursday night. And to be able to offer them a choice of more than one restaurant nearby, I mean, they could almost walk from the Athenaeum to Tribeca. I mean, it just enhances coming downtown.
It adds another option to an already diverse community that is just underutilized, I think.
So if somebody hears this program today and decides to run over there for lunch or dinner, what are your favorite food items that you've had more than once besides the meatloaf?
Besides the meatloaf and the pork belly burnt ends. The short rib over polenta is very good. Our crab cakes have no filter in them. The sea scallops are probably our most popular item that we'll never be able to take off the menu. We just added Texas Twinkies.
What's a Texas Twinkie?
It's a very large stuffed jalapeno, also wrapped in bacon. Chef loves spice and bacon. But our menu changes. We'll keep it fresh 3 to 4 times a year. We'll change the menu seasonally for flavors of the season and to keep things as local as possible as well.
And for people that go to the plays at Westfield Theater Group or the concerts at the Athenaeum that want to go for dessert, what are some of the desserts?
So we have a brioche bread pudding, vanilla bread pudding that is, it's hard for me sometimes when I'm running food to bring that one to the table without grabbing a bite. Our creme brulee, I would consider award-winning. When your chef was born in France and culinary trained in France, you know the creme brulee is going to be pretty good. We just added a rum chata that seems to be very popular as well. All our desserts, all house-made. Our cheesecake trio that we offer, they're all done in-house. Nothing's brought in.
And you mentioned the drinks that everything like the syrups and other flavorings are all made in-house. I know you have cocktails and mocktails as well. Are there any that you've tried that you'd recommend?
So I got to be honest on this one, Mark. I am a straight Tito's guy. I don't drink anything but it. Our executive mixologist, Carl, is far beyond his years in skill, talent, and ability. Every cocktail recipe he has created himself. He's named himself. Our entire spirit program he has designed. The wine list, which was nominated best of this year already. I haven't gotten the results yet, though. It all comes from his brain, and it's truly amazing. The drink specials that he makes, the after-dinner libations. Yeah, so I do taste them before they go on the menu, but I reserve the final call for him because my palate's kind of boring.
When you and your partners decided to do Tribeca, you must have looked at other restaurants nationally. What made you choose this particular style?
This was a concept I've had for 5-6 years now in my head of doing on a smaller level, something with far fewer moving parts. This style of food and this style of presentation of food, it all being shareable tapas. So there's no entrees on our menu. We have specials every weekend that are entrees, but our menu itself is all shareable plates. So if we go out to dinner, we might order 4 different plates, and we'll both get a couple bites of each plate. So instead of just eating one meal by yourself, you can try 4 or 5 different things on the menu every night. The concept is just it's something that I've wanted to do. The whole restaurant is built to be a very social environment. So whether you're sitting at the bar or even at a table, it's not uncommon that we see tables sitting next to each other by the end of the night, having conversations with each other, buying each other a cocktail because they become friends. Same thing at the bar. It's every night you see people sitting next to each other who walked in strangers and left becoming Facebook friends.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said that you've been tossing over the concept for a long time. Had you been to some place that inspired you to say, hey, I could do something like this, but I could do it differently?
Yeah. So I'm ashamed to admit it, but the truth is the first time I ever heard of a Gastro bar was on Bar Rescue with John Taffer. It was probably 15 to 12 years ago, I believe, where I saw an episode, and that's how I was first introduced to a Gastro bar.
Do you think that you and your partners will consider another restaurant on top of this, or is this one enough to keep you busy?
So we formed a corporation, Connecticut Valley Restaurant Group, with the absolute goal of opening up other locations within the market. Whether or not it's the same concept, that's not a definite, but certainly we have our eyes on, maybe a little bit more on the entertainment side of a bar versus a restaurant. And we'd love to choose Westfield again for the next location. One of the things I think is still out there is the stigma that Westfield is just a college town. And maybe once it was, but it's not just, downtown Westfield isn't just a bunch of crazy college kids running around. It's
no, it isn't. And other people have this misconception that it's a suburb of Springfield, and it really isn't. It's a completely different community with its own. I mean, as a small city, it has a population that's larger than Northampton, and it has a lot of mix of things you don't find in other communities in Western Mass.
Yeah, all part of the reason we're here.
And I got to say that one of the things that I find very impressive about what you're doing is the fact that you're a collaborator and a partner with other community organizations. I mean, so many times a restaurant comes to town and they're in it to win it and nothing else matters. But you guys have really, you're working with Artworks, you're working with Westfield on weekends and trying to do something to really create this cultural district.
It's not even, we go beyond that. We want to work with other restaurant owners. We want to collaborate. I try whenever possible, and we'll continue to do so, work with Amanda at the Chamber of Commerce. We are not going to survive by Tribeca alone. Everybody has to survive in order for us to be successful. So I don't care where you go. Come to the Tavern, the Maple Leaf, Emma's Hangar, whatever restaurants I didn't mention. Come to all of them. Come to Westfield, though.
Maybe you guys should do a taste of Westfield at some point down the road for the surrounding communities that have no idea what's here.
So I think the Chamber was working on something, and timing or something happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like that coming up in 2025.
Well, Tony, we're just about out of time, but before we go, repeat how people can learn more about this fabulous restaurant.
You can learn anything and everything at our website, TribecaWestfield.com. Make reservations, buy gift cards, view our menu, see photos, take a tour of the inside. We're on the Facebook, we're on Instagram, and our phone number is 413-579-5055. And the best thing to do is just come to 89 Elm Street, the historic Lamps and Furniture building in downtown Westfield, and come enjoy what Tribeca is doing. Exceeding guest expectations.
Tony Long, thanks for being here today. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Mark.
And this wraps up this edition of On the Mark TV and Radio. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next week.
I ain't got a shiny black car, ain't got a bundle of bright green money, clothes on my back, off the rack, but know what, so what, I don't care, cause you know what I've got fabulous feet, I love my fabulous feet, oh, I am filled with devotion, each time they're in motion, when they're just keeping the beat, 2, 3, 4, fabulous feet. Sit back and relax, cause you're in for a treat. We'll entertain and amuse you, so let me introduce you to me and my fabulous